called names before, and this wasn't the first time he'd had a blow-up in a public place, though it was certainly the wettest. He finished his meal with the extra glass of wine, occasionally checking stock quotes and email on his phone. He returned a few messages and made a note to himself about a case he was working on. All in all, the evening had turned out to be productive, despite the disastrous encounter with Lisa. Later, he stepped out into the night and buttoned his jacket. The noise of the city surrounded him, cars going by and the sound of a siren tearing through the night air. More than ever, he looked forward to his trip in a few days. His co-workers, Giles and Stephanie, were getting married in the Bahamas, and the time off in a warmer climate would be a welcome change of pace. He didn't usually do vacations. A day or two here and there was all he could manage. His hectic schedule simply didn't allow the luxury of downtime, but he had scheduled an extra day at the beginning of the trip to relax on the beach and work on a tan. One day of relaxation wouldn't hurt. Ransom handed the valet the numbered card to retrieve his car, and soon the metallic gray Porsche Cayenne eased up to the front door. After handing the young man a hefty tip, he hopped in and took off toward his condo in the Loop, Chicago's business district. Since he had the rest of his Saturday night free, he might as well get some work done. He pressed the recorder on his phone. Prepare summary judgment for the Stancomp case. Ransom pressed end and saved the reminder. Thinking about Lisa as he cruised down the highway, he sighed. The timing was all wrong for them to move into a more permanent relationship, but it was hard to explain that to her. Having her move to Chicago would be distracting, and so would having them move into a more permanent relationship, such as marriage. He envisioned them as a power couple, both ambitious and successful, and knew they could be really good together. Eventually. But she wanted to move too fast. He still hadn't made partner, a goal he saw within reach, this year for sure. Besides, he was only 37. He had his whole life ahead of him. He simply wasn't ready to settle down yet. Ransom eased his vehicle into the underground parking garage of his building. No point in crying over spilled milk. He had work to do. He took the elevator up to his condo, and within minutes, he was in his home office, hard at work. Days like this made it hard for Sophie Bradshaw to remember why she'd enjoyed being a flight attendant for 9 years, despite meeting crappy passengers like the man in 2B. Matthias Ditka thought the entire crew was there to do his bidding. Each time he asked for a refill of vodka, he yelled the request and rudely yanked the small bottle from their hands with an ungracious utterance of, "About time." The obnoxious behavior only increased with the length of the flight. Sophie groaned when the call light came on again. "What does he want now?" she grumbled. He'd managed to spoil her anticipation of the trip to the Bahamas, an arrangement she'd maneuvered by calling in a favor to swap routes with another flight attendant. "Probably wants us to rub his feet." Jolinda, one of the other flight attendants, rolled her eyes. This was Sophie's first time working with Jolinda, but she liked her a lot. Their similar temperament and the other woman's sense of humor made the trip much more enjoyable. "You take him this time, or I may end up punching him in the face," Jolinda added. Sophie laughed out loud and slammed a hand over her mouth. "I would love to see that." Taking a deep breath, she squared her shoulders and walked down the first-class aisle. She stopped at the seat where a burly, bearded man sat holding an empty mini vodka bottle. "I need another one of these. Pronto," he said, way too loud. Sophie leaned forward and spoke quietly. "I'm sorry, sir, but I'm going to have to cut you off." "Cut me off!" he bellowed, causing heads to turn and Sophie to wince. "This is first class." "I understand. However, we can't simply—" He grabbed her hand and yanked her forward. The fingers around her wrist tightened so much, pain shot up her arm. "Listen here, missy. Either you or the other waitress can bring me something else to drink. I don't care who does it. Do it now, or I'll go back there and get the drink myself." His breath reeked of the liquor he'd consumed since takeoff, and she suspected he'd been drinking before then. "You're hurting me. Let go." Sophie fisted her right hand, prepared to land a solid punch across the side of the man's face if he didn't release her by the